Once upon a time, in the days of the great King Arthur, there lived a wizard called Merlin, the mightiest magician in all of the world. Merlin can become any form he wants: a raven, a minstrel, or a floating jumper. But today he was walking as a poor beggar. He visited a house to ask for food. Inside, a husband and a wife, who were good people, soon brought him some milk and some brown bread. Merlin was much pleased with the kindness of these two, but he could see that everything was not comfortable. They seemed unhappy, so he asked them why they were sad. He learned that they didn't have any children. The unhappy woman said, with tears in her eyes, "I would be the happiest creature in the world if I had a son, even if he was no bigger than my husband's thumb." Merlin laughed at the idea of a boy the same size as a thumb and decided to make her wish come true. A few days later, a boy appeared in the farmhouse, and yes, he was very, very small. The Queen of the Fairies came to the window to look at Tom. She could see Tom's mum in bed, talking and stroking his little head. The Queen of the Fairies flew in, kissed the child, and gave it the name Tom Thumb. She then sent for some of the fairies who dressed her little son. An oak leaf he had for his crown, his shirt of web by spiders spun, his jacket wove of thistle down, his trousers were of feathers done, his stockings of apple rind they tie with eyelash from his mother's eye, his shoes were made of mouse's skin, tanned with downy hair within. Tom never grew bigger than his father's thumb, which by the way was an ordinary size. But when he was old enough to play with the big boys, he was full of tricks. Often, when he had lost his marbles, he used to creep into the bags of his friends, steal theirs, and join the game again. However, one day he was caught, and the big boy said, "My little Tommy, so I have caught you stealing my marbles at last." Then he shook the bag, and Tom's little body was sadly bruised. He begged to be let out and promised to never steal again. A short time afterwards, his mother was making some porridge. Tom was being very curious. He climbed to the edge of the pot, but his foot slipped and he fell in the sticky porridge, and his mother didn't notice, so she continued to stir, making it hot. When Tom started to feel the heat, he kicked and struggled so much that his mum thought the porridge was alive. Terrified, she threw the pot outside of the door. Outside, a hungry woman was walking past and picked up the porridge. As she was walking, feeling very pleased with herself, Tom suddenly appeared, spat all the porridge out of his mouth and screamed. The hungry woman screamed too and ran away. She threw the pots and Tom to the ground. Tom crept out, all covered with oats, and walked home. His mother was very sorry to see her darling boy in such a terrible mess. She put him in a teacup, and he had a little bath, and then she kissed him and laid him in bed. Soon after the porridge adventure, Tom's mother went to milk her cow in the meadow, and she took Tom too, as the wind was very strong. She tied him to a flower with a piece of thread. The cow saw Tom's oak leaf hat and wanted to eat it. With one big bite, the cow caught Tom and the flower in its mouth. Tom started to scream, "Mother! Mother! Where are you, my little Tommy Wommy?" "In the red cow's mouth, Mum! In the red cow's mouth!" The cow heard these strange sounds in its red mouth and dropped Tom on the floor. His mother caught him in her dress and took him home. Finally, Tom's father had made him a straw whip, so he can move the animals. But while he was walking, Tom slipped and fell into a rabbit hole. Suddenly, a raven picked him up and flew away. That's the end of part 1 of Tom Thumb's story. Tune in next week for part 2. Goodbye! A long time ago, the tale begun about a frail son wandering off into the sun. The big things he'd done, the big hearts he won, means there's only one Tom